Hello everyone. This week we will be focusing in a group of chemicals called persistent organic pollutants. The aim of this video is to give you an overview of the tasks you need to accomplish this week. Before you do anything else, I've got here a video called Making Sense of Chemical Structures. So I'm asking you to look at the structure of that compound, it's anthracene, and if you can see 14 carbon atoms and 10 hydrogen atoms, then that's fine. You don't have to engage with this task. However, if you don't really know what I'm talking about, please watch the video Making Sense of Chemical Structures. It will really help you both with the content of this week and in the future when we will be looking at other organic pollutants. I've also included the exercises for our first workshop, which will take place on the 3rd of November. So these are the exercises that we will be working through during that workshop. So you can prepare and come with questions and have a go at trying to solve them yourselves before coming to the session. The content of the lectures for this week is separated in 3 videos. The first one called Persistent Organic Pollutants, in which I give an overview of the types of persistent organic pollutants and some of their effects. The second one focuses on something called partition coefficients, which is a big part of a big chunk of the content we are going to be covering this week. And finally, an example of a calculation that you can perform using partition coefficients. And this video will help you to tackle the problems that we are going to do at the workshop. So before trying to do the problems, have a look at this video. I've also included some resources that I have used to prepare the video content, to prepare the lectures. The first one is a short 6-page guide to pesticides published by the University of Missouri. It's quite readable, so I would suggest that you have a look at it. And it gives you a nice overview of the paths that a pesticide follows when it's released in the environment and how it moves from the plant to the air, to the water, to the soil. I've also included a link to a section of a chapter from Principles of Environmental Chemistry on chemical partitioning, on partition coefficients. This chapter is available through the Novel database, so you will need to, if you haven't done it, so you will need to register with the database, which is free for us to use, but you will need to register to be able to access this resource. If you don't know how to access the database, I have included here a short video in which explain how you can open an account with them using your Canterbury Christ Church email account. I've also included some scan sections of Environmental Chemistry: A Global Perspective by Van Loon and Duffy. It is quite technical. It's where the maths of partition coefficients is covered to great detail. So it can be a bit off-putting. So tread with care when you are looking at this resource. I used it partially to prepare the session, but it might be a bit too technical, too more in-depth to what partition coefficients are. And my suggestion would be that first you look at Harrison's resource, Chemical Partitioning, and then if you're interested in reading a bit more, you engage with Van Loon and Duffy. And when you read it, that if you don't feel comfortable with the maths part of the section, that you skip those parts because they are not really that applicable. What I'm going to ask you to do, as the aim of this week, is for you to become familiar using partition coefficients, not necessarily deriving them from mathematical principles. I've included some optional content, and for those of you that are interested in the topic and might find that you want to dwell a bit more into the topic. One is a link to the Stockholm Convention on Persistent Organic Pollutants, which is a piece of legislation that legislates the release of these pollutants to the environment. So this might be interesting, especially if in the future you see yourselves ending in an environmental consultancy type of role, this might be a useful resource. If not, you can just write the little bit that I've extracted here in this section, which is that tells a bit about the story, the history behind the convention, how it started. Another optional resource, the ARS Pesticide Properties Database by the US Department of Agriculture. It's a database with properties of common pesticides, and it contains all pesticides you can think of. Again, not necessarily something useful for this module, but if you end up in the job, if you end up as environmental consultant, it might be useful for you to be aware of this resource. And finally, a resource that I suggested for those of you that, in ecology, because it would be useful, it was useful to understand the practical you did in the determination of the partition coefficient of salicylic acid, which is this section of Essentials of Pharmaceutical Chemistry, which is available through the library page. It's an ebook, you can access it from there. And in this case, I'm going to suggest that if you are not an ecology student, if you're, for example, a biomolecular or biology student, and you see yourself maybe in the future going into the pharmaceutical industry or the health-related job, it might be of interest to you how partition coefficients are not only used in the environmental field. They are also used in the pharmaceutical industry, and actually they started in the pharmaceutical industry and then were transported to the environmental field. They were then applied to the environmental field. And finally, a link to the discussion board. As usual, you're always welcome to email me, and I will do my best to support you. However, if you post in the discussion board, all of us will be able, or everybody will be able to benefit from the discussions and the responses I give you. Subscribe to the discussion boards, both the general one and the one for the assessment, so I will get a notification when one of you posts. So I would encourage you to engage with the discussion board to generate more knowledge for the module. And this is everything for this video. I hope you enjoy the week, and thank you for watching. See you soon.